Welcome everyone to our 30th episode. This is a milestone to cross to the 30s. Thank you all so much for being here. This is a space where I want to empower you all to be relationship experts. My name is Kimia Shahzadi. I'm the founder of Love Story. A bit of background around me before we jump in. I have a master's in clinical behavioral psychology. I specialize in relationships. I've published psychology studies in journals on relationships. I'm happily married for almost 5 years and have helped over 100 people with their relationships. I've match made over 20 people, welcoming my husband who's here, Armand, welcoming my brother here who's here, Mr. Magic Man Mazda. I appreciate you being here. If you ever want therapy, help with your love life, matchmaking, we've got it all. Just reach out to me if you want to know more with this space at any point at all. If you have any questions or comments, we love hearing from people, so just feel free to request to speak, and I'll do my best to keep a lookout for your hands up and have you guys jump on. So any stories, any comments, any questions, anything that I can provide you value, that's what I'm here to do every week. So feel free to take advantage of that as much as you want. Today's topic: what to do and not do when hurt in a relationship. Okay, let me quickly get someone up. Okay, awesome. So this is a big topic. Sorry, my husband's in the house and I hear him echoing. I think I'm going to just remove him from speaker before the echo. I don't know if you guys are also getting an echo. So I'll just, okay, if he's going to speak, I'll tell him to come use my microphone. All right, so today's topic: what to do and not do when hurt in a relationship. This is a topic that was requested from last week. So, we live to serve. So hopefully this will be valuable for people in the space. I wanted to just go through some things that I thought might be helpful with this skill to unpack together. And then we normally go through Reddit questions that we talk about as well and practice the skills that we're learning. Before I jump in, did anyone have any initial questions or stories or anything they wanted to share? All right, beautiful. And at any point, if you do, just feel free to raise your hand or request to speak, or just unmute yourself if you're already a speaker. All right, so as a starter, we want to remember that bottling is bad and to be honest. So when you feel hurt, you want to be able to say it. And the rule of thumb you want to remember, which we're going to apply to every single Reddit question we use and we feel upset, is I feel, and then whatever emotion you're feeling, you can feel any emotion you want to say after I feel, you can put there. And then after that, you need to figure out I need. Like, what do you need to make the situation better? If you really have thought about it and you don't know, or it's taking too long so you're not expressing that you're upset, just say I feel embarrassed, I feel hurt, I feel blah blah blah, and I don't know what I need, but I know I feel really upset. If you know what you need, that's even better. You can ask for it. I see a hand up. Better call Zal. Go for it.
Yeah, I just had a question kind of going in lines with that. I feel like sometimes when I'm in a long distance relationship, so when I'm calling my partner and I'm talking with her, I sometimes come in with a bad mood, or she's coming in with a bad mood, and we're both excited to talk to each other, but for some reason we can't shake the bad mood or bad vibes that initially started on the call, and then the rest of the call kind of potentially might go poorly, or we start to watch something, we're both not really in a good enough mood to watch it. I'm kind of curious. I like what you said about taking the second to be like, okay, I'm embarrassed that it took so long for me to say something. I like that a lot. I was wondering, do you have any other kind of tips like that?
Yeah, great one, because we're not always in a good mood. So it's a very natural human emotion to come at things with different feelings, and it might not even relate to your partner when you're feeling upset. So, at first, if it bothers either of you, the moment you notice that it's bothering you, like, you should say it. So, for example, I don't know if it's important to you or her that you start off the call like, a certain way, and then the other person, you know, I can say I feel sad that I was really excited to see you on the call, and I really needed you to say, hey, so good to see you, with a smile on your face, because we haven't seen each other over video call for like 2 days, for example. So whoever notices they're upset first should definitely say it. That's a starting point. And then as a more general pattern fix, if this is a big deal that, like one of you or both of you are feeling like this is a pattern, it's a problem that's happening more than once, maybe a system fix can be more useful so it doesn't keep happening. For example, this is actually one that Arman and I face. So when Arman comes home, he likes to be welcomed, in a positive way. And usually we have this thing where when either of us come home, we say, my babes is home. And if we, are free, like we go up to them and we give them a hug and we're smiling. And I might not feel, or he may not feel like doing that, but that's something that we agree to. It's an action. So, for example, if he says, this is something that's really important to me, when I come home, I really need that, instead of like, I don't know, you immediately telling me about your day and like it being about negative things or, something like that. So it's very common for us to, bring something just, how we're normally feeling to a situation. But if someone wants something different, they have to ask for it. And if it is really important to them and that's how they feel loved, which it was in my situation, it was something that Armand needed from me. And it was something that made him feel really loved. So I made a decision, and note that I'm talking about a decision, not a feeling. I made a decision that regardless of how I'm feeling, if I'm not on a call or something, when he comes home, I will say my babes is home and go up to him and give him a hug as a general rule. Obviously, there are exceptions. And obviously, at every point when I do this, I'm not going to feel like super excited in the initial moment, but I know I've made a decision to do this because I know it makes him feel loved. So for example, I would, I might not be feeling excited in that moment, but I will like say it and smile and give him a hug. And then after I do those things, I usually do feel excited to feel it. And that's, in psychology, with a lot of experiments they've done, they realize the shortcut to behavior change is actually deciding to do the behavior and the feelings follow. And so, in a very long answer, I'm sorry, that's kind of a systematic approach we've taken to addressing this issue because it was something that important to him. If it wasn't something that important, maybe like a one-off fix is helpful. And, maybe it's not, you have to get really specific with what it is that you both need in that situation. For example, if I don't know, like maybe if I said, oh, hey, good to see you, and didn't get up and give him a hug, maybe that wouldn't mean much to him. It wouldn't mean much to him at all, even if I did that. But he really wanted the hug. And unless I knew it was the hug that he wanted, like I would be doing the wrong thing, like putting in so much effort, like, doing all these things and it's not even working. So that's why it's so important that you know what your partner wants specifically. Get super granular with these things. So then your efforts are efficient and loving and you guys are both on the same page, because everyone receives love differently. So just because this works for Armand, it doesn't mean it might work for someone else. And it might not even work in reverse for me. Like he does that for me as well, which is nice. I appreciate it. So it's lucky that we both it works in this one situation, but it's really important that you guys get really specific with what you guys need from each other and how important it is. Sometimes we even rank things like out of 10, how important is this to you? And sometimes like it's a 1 and sometimes it's like a 7 and we're like, oh wow, I'm going to take this more seriously. Oh, okay, this isn't that serious. So all of these measures can get us closer to figuring out what can be like an efficient way of showing each other love with what you both need. So yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. That definitely gives me some ideas and tips that I can take away. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Kimia.
Yeah, sure thing, of course. I'm so glad you asked the question. It was a really good one. I think everyone learned a lot from it. Okay, so as a general rule, when stressed or upset, we need to say it. We need to say that we're hurt. So bottling is bad. Be honest. I feel emotion and then I need. So these are just general rules, and obviously we can understand this stuff theoretically, but when it comes to applying it, a lot of these things go out the window. And so one of the things that people also tend to do sometimes is to evoke a bigger reaction from someone or legitimize their feelings. They might use like kind of exaggerated terms like traumatized, abused, gaslighting, narcissistic personality disorder, which just so you know, so you say someone's a narcissist, like only 1% of people are actually narcissists. So it's good to keep that in mind. Not everyone, like it's not a super common thing people have. So these things are quite severe terminology to use. And, we can get confused with what that means, or like, the severity of something. And, it could be a reason to, just not have to deal with it and just blame someone else for it. Obviously, if you've been through abuse or, something traumatic, then please, I'm not belittling your situation in any way. Those things are very serious. And, I've personally gone through, abuse as a kid growing up. So I can definitely relate to when it is for sure real and needs to be taken seriously. But it's just we use this terminology so commonly these days, and it can be used for different reasons. And I want to give some examples of when we would use these things instead of, we would use these terms and not actually address how we're feeling about being hurt and the actions we take. So for example, someone can say he's such a narcissist. And probably what the person who's saying it is feeling is that they're really avoiding feeling abandoned. They feel abandoned and discarded. And so if we were practicing this skill with them, if you're saying someone else is a narcissist, how are they making you feel? So you feel abandoned, you feel discarded. So if you were going to communicate to that person, you would say, I feel abandoned, I feel discarded, this is what I need. And that would be the starting point of the conversation. Another one is, I'm setting a boundary. So this one in general, it sounds like good general advice. But it could possibly in your actions show when you're really stonewalling someone and you're just avoiding having the conversation of saying, I feel unloved, and having a vulnerable conversation. So that's another thing, we can just, think we're doing these good actions of, setting boundaries and these things. But if we don't communicate them and have these hard, vulnerable conversations and say, I feel unloved or these things, then it's not very helpful for getting us out of this situation. And we can really play a victim mentality and think, they're at blame, but they don't really know what's going on. They're just getting stonewalled and trying to figure out why you're not talking to them, for example. So communication is so huge with this one. And I'm trying to show you different examples so you can kind of see how actions and words can interact with each other. Another one is, she's so toxic. So this could be you've never communicated how you felt, and you're just really avoiding saying, I feel hurt by this person, and having that conversation. He's gaslighting me, when he's just disagreeing or having a different memory of events, and you could be saying, I don't feel heard. And it's really good practice to realize, what are you feeling in these moments? And it's 100% valid and legitimate to say you're hurt or upset without having to, say you're traumatized or something like that. So it's really about getting really specific with the feeling. And usually it's an uncomfortable feeling that we have to kind of verbalize and then ask what we need from it, and not react defensively by kind of, shutting down, by not speaking to the other person anymore, or just, saying it's their fault and yelling at them or whatever it is. We need to start with addressing that we're feeling a certain emotion, and then addressing what we need from it to move forward. So I wanted to just give two advanced, for people that have good communication skills and they practice these things. For some people, someone can make jokes that could use some of this terminology, and it's okay, and it actually helps the situation because it breaks the intensity of it. So sometimes, for example, Armand and I can't remember what it was, but I think we were doing long distance, and he would do something or I would do something that we kind of upset each other about a little bit. It wouldn't be a big deal too much. And we would say, oh, that's international violence. You know how there's domestic violence? We would say that's international violence. And it was a joke, and we both knew it. And we would kind of laugh, but we would understand the other person is hurt. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind, this only works because, we're not making passive aggressive jokes where this is an advanced skill to use. Please don't make jokes about these things if you guys aren't 100% on the same page and have really strong communication skills. This is an advanced skill to kind of put into your repertoire of things to use. Another one that's could be used, if you're married with each other and, sometimes you fall into the same arguments, maybe, over again a few times, and, you just want to be able to break out of it. One way is just to have naked arguments. You're not going to be able to react the exact same way as you would when you're fully clothed. It's just, even if you try, you are going to break the intensity to some extent, because it's just different. You're not used to seeing your partner like that while having a disagreement. So things that can change your environment, even as simple as having naked arguments, honestly, is a way to reduce the intensity of a discussion. I feel like, Bishan, you just came into at a crazy point in this conversation. I don't know, was there anything you initially wanted to say?
Hey, everyone.
Okay. Hey. Good to hear your voice.
I just finished a basketball game. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, good. Glad to have you here. We're just going through what to do and not to do when hurt in a relationship. And we've established bottling is bad. Be honest and say, I feel, and the emotion, and then I need. And even if you don't know what you need, just say, I don't know what I need, but I feel upset about this. And we went through examples of how things can, come off exaggerated and not address how we feel. And we might stonewall thinking we're setting boundaries, but we're actually just shutting down and not communicating. So it's really important to just communicate how we feel, and as a starting point. And then we got to, we can weave in jokes if we are have good communication skills to be able to navigate that, and naked arguments was the last thing we just talked about. Okay, so before we jump into Reddit questions, was there anything anyone wanted to say or any ask or share?
I have some questions.
Yeah, go for it.
So hopefully this hasn't been said earlier, but I think when I think about people being hurt, I think about a gradient of severity. So someone does something that hurts you and they wanted to do it and it was really hurtful, it's really bad stuff. And let's say that as long as you're standing up for yourself, which can be hard, but people generally understand in those situations that their partner is treating them badly and they have to like stand up for themselves. But I think it becomes kind of more confusing if the hurt is not as severe. And that's when I think one of two things can happen. The first thing is someone can be really uncomfortable sharing their feelings because it feels like they're just putting their emotions in their partner's lap. That they're saying, oh, I feel bad. And instead of doing anything about it, I'm just going to like put those feelings on you. And that might not be what actually happens, but that might be what it feels like when you aren't communicating how you feel if you're not used to it. You might feel like you're being overly sensitive or overly touchy by being communicative. And I think that this is a case where it's more about how you say it than what you say. Like someone can say it's fine 100 different ways. We all know how bad an it's fine can feel to hear if it gets put really meanly. But it's fine can also be really reassuring and comforting. So I guess an open question to everyone, I would love to ask if they've thought about this and in terms of the tone, any guidelines on tone and how to communicate.
And a great question. Anyone on the floor want to share their feelings and thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll give my little. I don't know. I don't have the most experience with tone because I mostly text. I feel comfortable texting in my relationship a bit. So it's sometimes tone is very hard to tell, and you need to like ask it again and like really understand where they're coming from because especially with text too, it's really hard to discern how they're feeling behind it. So sometimes I'm not sure, so I might just double check and ask, "Is this what you meant?" And I think that's really helped me. But yeah, that's kind of my experience with tone so far.
Love it. Thanks for your input. Houdini, I saw you came up.
Yeah, the tone thing brought me up. Hey there, happy Thursday, everybody. It's all about tone. Like, the best way to deal with it is imagine if someone was talking to you with the same sort of news you're giving them, and imagine what tone you'd want. But that's hard. So yeah, just try to go gentle, but like super direct. Like get to the heart of it.
Yeah. And I think like with the way you brought up quite a few things when you were talking, Bijan. The one was kind of one element was, when you bring it up, like, do you even share it? Like, and get past that I should figure this out on my own. Should I even put this on my partner? At what stage do you put it on your partner or that, that sort of dynamic in your head. And then the other part is kind of, the way you say it, which could relate to tone and things like that. And so, yeah, some people are not great with tone and some people are and are very sensitive to it. And, a classic example is my husband and I. Tone is so important to my husband, Armand, and it's not as important to me. I really focus on people's words. So from that standpoint, it's really important to figure out what is actually important to your partner. So I would say if your partner is someone who really cares about tone, or you do, that is an honest conversation you guys need to have. And whenever someone slips up, it's okay to feel like, I feel like you're threatening, like I feel like your tone is threatening, not necessarily your words, but I feel, like you don't have to say you feel unsafe, but it's just like I feel sad or I feel uncomfortable when you speak to me in that tone. And you can cut someone like as they're speaking, or just wait until they finish and then say this. It's okay to directly address it, because if you've really checked out because of their tone, then the rest of the conversation is not really helpful to you until you address the thing that's bothering you. So definitely watch out for tone. Obviously over text and things like that, it's much harder to gauge tone. That's why in as many situations as you can, video calling or phone calling, or just seeing them in person reduces a lot of the, these mixed messages that can come across, that we can just misunderstand someone. It's already hard enough to make sure you understand someone, a normal person communicating in person. So, and we all have different definitions for the words we use, even although we're speaking the same language. So because of our own history of what we've attached to these words. So it's very important. Communication is so much bigger than we think it is. And when I studied psychology, especially my master's, this was probably one of my biggest takeaways of understanding humans. A lot of our, problems come from us not being on the same page. And usually people's intentions, are good. Obviously, there are people with bad intentions, and I've come across them too. But in general, there's much more disconnect from communication than malicious intent against people. So hopefully that kind of addresses him. I know for my husband Arman and probably for Bijan, it keeps cutting out. I don't know, Twitter seems to be booting people out for some reason today. So I'm sorry if that happens to you. Okay, does anyone have anything else to say before we jump into the Reddit questions? Okay, let's jump in. Okay, so this one is titled, so it's a 18-year-old male and a 19-year-old female, and the title is, "My girlfriend posted a pic where she's lying on another guy's crotch." And there is some background. So it says, so we have each other on Be Real, which seems to be an app. She posts every day, and I often see the same guy there. It's just her friend, I thought, no biggie. Until today, where her friend was sitting on a bench and she was on the ground with her head in his crotch area. Am I overthinking this? Seems kind of disrespectful on her part over our relationship. They are not naked or anything, still outside and fully clothed. But yeah, I don't know. We stayed together for around 2 months before, and we had to go back to our home countries, and we've been long distance now for 3 months. I don't know what to feel about the Be Real, to be honest. What do you guys think? What do you think about this one? Any ideas?
At first I was like, oh yeah, that's unacceptable. And then I was like, well, maybe they've been friends for like, a long time and they're just like buddies or something. But is there backstory with that?
Unfortunately not. That's all the backstory I got. And I don't even know what the picture looks like. I can try and imagine it, but I don't know if she's like literally facing his crotch or facing away from it. Like, are they both looking at the camera? Or
I mean, it's public. I'm assuming like, it's like sideways, like resting. Yeah. But still, that's a little, it's a bit much in most cases.
Yep. Exactly. But yeah, we are definitely missing context. So that's a fair point. Crazy Jack, cool. I see you with your hand up. Go ahead.
I mean, try to when go too soon when.
Oh, was that? Sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
Go to a wedding,
You went to a wedding?
No, go to one, September 9th.
Go to a wedding on the 9th. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about this Reddit question at the moment. So did you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I'm listening to sing the Terabyte songs. It's Terabyte. She's the best singer ever out there. It's Terabyte.
Okay, all right. We're going to keep to the conversation topics. So if you have something in the future to say about the topic, you can come up, but we're going to try and stay on topic. All right. Awesome. Okay, so with this one, yes. So does anyone want to say, if they had to practice bottling is bad, being honest, how would they tackle this one? I feel, and you would need to say emotion, and I need. Mr. Magic Man, come up to the stand.
Yeah, I think when I was listening to your conversations and your discussions, it can be a lot sometimes. So I just repeat the juice of what you're saying. And it was just two things, bro. How do I feel? Say the emotion. And then what do you do? So like, I'm going to start there. So I would say I feel uncomfortable when you post pictures like that. I need some reassurance or an understanding why you think that's okay or something like that. And I can start the discussion. So start with like the system you use and that you mentioned. So that's what I'd do.
Well done. Exactly. So I feel uncomfortable. It definitely sounds like this person's at least feeling uncomfortable with this picture. It's a great starting point. You had an idea for what you needed. So you wanted to understand kind of where she was coming from. And then maybe in the future, you'll say, I need you not to take photos like that in the future. Or I don't know, you to ask me for permission. I don't know, whatever it is you need. Then you can start the conversation with the I need. And so, well done. That was great. So we've covered kind of a great starting point for addressing how you feel. Let's also talk about what not to do when you're hurt. So Mazda, I want to ask you, since you came up to this one just now, what's something not to do when you feel hurt if you were the guy in this situation? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the most common one, you might get a bit defensive and attack back. So you might attack the character and say they're maybe doing, I don't know, they're doing bad stuff. And that's not what a good person should do. Or you might say they're not a high quality person. You're not an S&P 500 that I thought you were.
Oh no, in our family, that's a really low blow. Like, we only call the best of the best people
it's like a 500. Backhanded insult or triple insult. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, that was a good one, Mazda. Well done. So absolutely. So, this is, I picked this Reddit question because, this picture was, with her lying on some guy's crotch or something. We can all kind of have a reaction to that and think that's not okay. So that's a pretty universal feeling. And so we can, all identify that we would feel uncomfortable at the very least. And then I need is just something that we can start the conversation of how to address the actual problem and not get into all of these other things that can spiral our relationship out of control. And from what Houdini said too, we're missing context on this and we haven't seen the photo. Okay, so let's go to our second out of 3 Reddit questions for the night. So this one is a 29-year-old male and it's a 30-year-old female. And the title is, "My partner recently told me he finds vaginas gross." That's a bit of context on this one. So it says,
this is the problem.
So it says, "My fiance recently admitted that he is not attracted to vaginas, but that he likes how they feel. This was to explain why he never does foreplay, fingering, oral. He has never fingered me or given me oral. He said he tried oral once in the past and didn't like it. I understand sexuality is a spectrum and would fully support him if he came out as asexual, etc. But he insists he is straight. Is it possible to just not be attracted to vaginas or desire them as a straight male? Is this a more common occurrence that's just not discussed as openly in relationships? Or is he just not especially attracted to mine?" All right, so there's probably a lot of feelings here.
Too many feelings. It's
So
not
many
hers. They're not that different. It's probably all of them.
Yeah.
I don't. I have. I've had some talks with straight men over the years. This has never come up, like being disgusted by vagina.
Where's the vagina expert? Who's gonna weigh in on this?
Does anyone else? Polly, come up here, Polly. What do you think?
This is wow. I don't even know where to begin. But thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Of course.
So I think there's a few possibilities here. One, he really is not attracted to it. 2, he's just coming up with excuses not to do it. I don't know. This is bizarre.
I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do it in the first place. I mean, just as a straight male or whatever.
Well, I wonder if he really is straight.
Well, that's the first thing, and that's fine, of course. But that's not this lady's fault or problem.
If he's actually gay, and maybe he's like many gay men in the past, or lesbians, afraid to live that and be truthful with it. Maybe they choose to live a straight lifestyle, just to try and put on that facade. I mean, I don't want to assume.
Yeah,
right?
Identify as straight, but don't like the parts.
Yeah,
whatever. That's possible.
You could maybe you can close your eyes during the act and imagine it's something you can enjoy. Whereas if you're doing the foreplay stuff, it's kind of impossible to make yourself imagine those other things, right? I mean, that's sort of where my mind first would go, because as someone who is a straight man who does enjoy doing things with vaginas, this is very strange. This is very much the opposite of what I would imagine. So putting myself in those shoes is rather challenging.
I hear you. Let's flip it and see what you guys think. Sure. This Reddit question is about a guy, a proclaimed straight guy, finding a vagina gross but liking how it feels. So if we flip the script and say it was a girl finding a penis gross but liking how it feels, now where are we on that?
I wouldn't blame her at all. I can imagine.
Yeah, they are gross.
I think they're gross.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
There we go.
Keep the lights off. We solved the problem.
Well done, you guys. We all reached it. Awesome. So let's say it's okay. So let's say where the girl is in the situation, because the girl is the one who wrote the Reddit question. So if someone was practicing, expressing their feelings in whatever feeling they're feeling, but in a bad way. Let's start with a bad way. What not to do when you're hurt in a relationship. What are some examples the girl could do in this situation when the guy expressed this?
Blame.
It's like a deal breaker. I don't even know.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm done. Bye-bye. Go find a man.
Literally,
probably women that don't want to have that too. Don't like oral sex. Don't like fingering, whatever. So maybe that man needs to find that woman.
Yeah, maybe there's some of that too. For sure. Oh, I see someone requesting to speak. Welcome. Did you have a suggestion of how to do this badly? I saw Hi came up. I'm just giving them an opportunity if they want to speak.
Yeah, so I think that's something that none of us have considered is, and this sometimes applies to a lot of things, it's not about you. Like, she's taking this really personally and being like, maybe he's just not straight. Maybe it's just my vagina. But it could just be that
Yeah.
she's like he's had bad experiences. Maybe he's like felt like he's disappointed people in the past. And so now it's just kind of being like, hey, I just don't want to do it anymore because I don't want to continue to have bad experiences.
Totally. It's most likely not her vagina. Like, it's totally most likely not.
Absolutely. It could be. I guess like there also could be something going on. But yeah, love that input. Thank you. And I don't know, and again, we don't get taught this stuff in school, and it's much easier to give a guy an orgasm than it is for a girl. And like how, like even some girls don't. A lot of girls don't know, the ways to pleasure themselves, or even guide a guy to be able to pleasure them. And just as a good rule of thumb, just for everybody in the audience today, there's like 3 main spots that's good for everybody to know. Like a lot of people know about the clitoris. That's one way to give a girl an orgasm. And every girl is different. So, but these are the 3 general ones. So one is the clitoris, so the C, and then there's the G spot, which is on the inside and it's tilted in. So if you kind of like bend your fingers into like a C, that's kind of like where it would be on the inside. And then there's one more that's like in the back, like it's inside the vagina, very shallow in towards the very back. And so it's great to even know these things, because the more orgasms the girls have, the more they're going to like sex as well. And obviously there's a lot of other ways to, it's not just about orgasms, it's about, pleasure and all of that included, which is an important part of sex as well. So, it's okay if she wants these things. So, okay, let's do it properly. So now we're going to be expressing our feelings, the right way when we're hurt in a relationship. So let's just say this just happened. And the guy just said, oh, I just find vaginas kind of gross. And then the girl freaks out. And we're the girl. What do we say? What do we do? What do we do when we follow the formula?
We say that's a problem. I mean, that's like, yeah, how do we get past that? I don't think we can. We say, it's been nice. It's been good.
Let's start with the feeling. What feeling are we feeling? So
do we hate them?
We
just want to end it because we hate them.
Guys, we're doing the good one now. We've covered all the bad ones. So I feel like what's an emotion we're feeling? Let's just
Rejected.
Identify. Amazing. I love that. Okay, that was great. I feel rejected. What do I need? I need to be touched sexually in the vagina. Like what do you like? What do you,
in
whatever.
the vagina.
Or like we need to learn the skill like of how we need it, or what do you feel comfortable with, what don't you feel comfortable with? Is there some like previous like what is going on?
It's hard to like express it with words sometimes in the situation. So like sometimes there's a guidance of the hand, or like like a holding the hand in one spot for a moment. Like there's some guidance things that happen that are more subtle. So that's okay.
Yeah, and every girl is different. So you got a blank slate that you have to learn from, for sure. So guys, so that's really great. At the end, we got to the point where we're like, I feel rejected. I need this. And that is the start of the conversation to get to the heart of it really quickly without getting off tangents of a lot of other areas that can steer us off track and potentially, break our relationship up within 5 minutes. So, Polly, I see your hand.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that it's really important for her to actually like have a discussion with this guy about it and try to understand how this happened, right? Because there has to be some underlying reason for it, and if there was something like Hai referenced, that maybe in the past, maybe he's insecure about his abilities or whatever. I think he sort of owes it to her to have that conversation with her and kind of reassure her that, hey, this is something that I'm struggling with. It's not you. I'd like to find a way to get over it. If that is something that is going on, because he's the one who's presenting the problem, it is important for him to show some, emotional maturity to be willing to have a conversation with her and allow her to at least try and be empathetic about it. If she can understand where he's coming from, maybe she won't take it personally, right? And she won't feel insecure herself. Because when we allow people to, people hide their insecurities and they don't share it, they can turn around and make us feel insecure, and that's when things can get really ugly and weird and uncomfortable. So I hope he's able to have a honest conversation about where he's at with her and with himself, like what I talked about last week, being honest with yourself. If he's not honest with himself and not even aware of what's really going on, then it's going to be really difficult for them to really get past this.
Yeah. Foreplay and making sure the woman is being satisfied in the like sexually in a relationship is really important. Like there's only so long you can probably sweep this under the rug before it becomes, a serious issue you need to talk about. I don't know how long they've not been having this conversation. So I agree. And it shows, good awareness that if the guy kind of addressed that to begin with, especially if they've never done this stuff before and this is the reason why, it's definitely a conversation that would be great if he initiated. But, if he's just never had to do it with her or explain himself and she's noticed she's feeling upset, like, that's why when you feel it, don't bottle it. Bad things happen when you bottle your feelings, especially these negative ones. So as soon as you notice it, let's address it. Let's talk about it. Let's get on the same page. Let's come from a point of understanding of, seeing all the different elements relating to this so we can kind of have a discussion and figure out what we both need to move forward. And like, remember the reverse too. So there are girls that can find penises gross too, and maybe there's not too much underlying there, and maybe there is for some people. So having that conversation is a great starting point and not assuming. So we don't want to be an assumption alley, which a lot of us are at most times with everyone until we directly ask. With a lot of people, just with couples, a lot of the time they're just not speaking each other's language or not asking the other person exactly what they want to know. Like even with matchmaking, I match-made so many people now, and I see them from, complete strangers to trying to figure out dating and trying to figure out a relationship. And they come to me and they text me and they're like, I feel like they feel comfortable telling me how they feel. They'll be like, I feel this. I don't know about this. Like, what's going on with this? And then the other person will also text me like, I feel blah, blah, blah. And then what I do a lot of the time is I just screenshot what they sent me and send it to the partner. And then they respond directly and say, this is how I feel. Then I screenshot that back to the other person. And then they both realize, like, I'm trying to train them to, have these honest conversations to each other where they can, just be honest and tell each other how they feel and discuss it. Some people, they also, when they get hurt, they kind of make unilateral decisions for both people. And they're just like, well, I am informing you that this is my boundary and I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Or just like, come and talk to me after you are willing to do this thing. And they've just unilaterally decided this thing. And you really, if you feel hurt, you want to say, I feel hurt, or whatever emotion it is, and then say what you need and start a conversation, not kind of end a conversation with what you think you've decided for the both of you. Like as soon as you're, talking with another person, you are, and you're considering them in a relationship, you are now a team and you're trying to figure it out as a team. And that doesn't happen with unilateral decisions. It happens with joint decisions you guys make, talking to each other and considering, people's feelings. So love the conversation we had there. One last one for the day. And this one touches on a few different things, which is why I picked it. So this is a good one because I think it highlights a lot of things that can kind of just come at play if we don't notice them, and they can just keep building. And then we can start building like stories around why it might be happening and where, not addressing the problem, and it's like communication is not happening. Okay, I know I've given a lot away. So you guys will figure this out, but you'll forget it probably what I said because this Reddit question is a little long. So the title of this one is a 39-year-old male, 41-year-old female. So, and the title is husband claims he does hurtful things to me unintentionally. And then we have a backstory on this one. So my husband and I have been together for 5 years, married for less than 1 year. He has a very loving and sweet demeanor. He'll cook for me, run to the store if I need something, will bring me flowers once in a while, especially if I'm having a bad day. I've had a supportive doctor inflicted health crisis for a couple of years. I'm healing, and he's been pretty supportive. I've tried working more recently, but he insisted that I should keep it to a minimum and rest as much as I need, and my family loves him. My cats love him. He's great with my niece and nephews. He also says and does really hurtful things to me, but claims it's by accident, or that he's forgotten and I've asked him to stop doing something, or that he's just clumsy, and then often follows it by telling me that there's nothing to say about it. He also shuts me down or invalidates me continually. When I get upset about this stuff, he sulks and pushes me to get over it faster and for the sake of his own comfort. 3 examples, please. And then it says, please get past the first one. It's a bit dramatic. Okay, so I've got 3 situations to tell you guys about. So the first one is, for the first couple of years, I've asked him to stop putting up the towel and hitting me on the butt in the kitchen because it hurts. He has kept doing it. A month ago, he hit me so hard I screamed the loudest I've screamed in years, started crying, and needed to put ice on it, but I was too stunned to take action. He claimed he'd forgotten that I disliked that and that I had said multiple times it hurt. He got this sulky, pleading look he gets and tried to get me to get over it, but that made me feel even more distrustful. Okay, so remember this one. So this is the towel situation with hitting her butt on the towel when she's told him not to do it, and he's saying he's forgotten. The second situation, this is a little gruesome, so trigger warning. About 17 years ago, I found my first partner, we were engaged, had passed away in the bathroom from a heart thing he didn't know he had. And because of the way he fell, there was a lot of blood. I often, though occasionally not, have had really like bad reactions to death and violence in movies and TV shows. Yes, I've had therapy. Husband brought home an artsy film about ramen and wanted to watch it. I was game. He'd seen it before and warned me that there was a death scene in it, but it was over the top, so it would probably be okay. I told him it probably wouldn't, and he said he'll tell me when it's coming up so I can leave the room. This is something he's seen my sister and I do a bunch. The scene comes up. He didn't warn me. It was a man shot to death in front of his wife, and she threw himself on his dying body covered in blood. Like deja vu. I got really cold, took my computer and left the room to get some work done and just calm down. He came in 20 minutes later, upset that I was not okay. Out of the two of us, he was significantly more distraught. I had made up my mind I wasn't going to let another oopsie-daisy from him ruin my night. We've had enough ruined nights in the last 5 years. He put a lot of pressure on to talk to him about my feelings so we could process it and be okay. I informed him that I was going to take my damn time on this one, and he is rushing me emotionally effed me up. I told him it was unfair to expect me to process on his schedule for his comfort. In defense of himself, he said he had forgotten where the scene was and it was badly edited, so the scene was unpredictable. I said way too much of this kind of thing happened for it to always be an accident or honest mistake. And he said he didn't have anything else to say about it. Okay, so the first situation was with the towel, like hitting her with the towel is a joke on her butt. The second one is, doesn't like scary movies for her personal history of trauma. He didn't warn her about, that scene in the movie that he suggested that he has seen before. And then the third thing is, yesterday I stated I was sad and angry that the jacket that was far too big for me is almost too small for me, and I felt powerless at a loss. He didn't say anything at all. He's had a habit of ignoring me or refusing to respond when we want to talk through, and he said that it was out of extreme anxiety. So just a bit of context on this one. This was really long. I cut it down. So pretty much she has gained weight from her health issues, and so she's a lot larger. She feels like she's not in her own body anymore, and so she put on like a jacket that was meant to be really big on her, and now it's like really tight on her. And what did he say? I don't know. She was just kind of stating it, probably wanting reassurance. And he didn't say anything to respond to how she was feeling. And he said he was feeling extremely anxious. That's why he didn't respond. And so a bit more on this one. So I thought that was weird, recalling a conversation we had about dog training trick this weekend. I asked him with some trepidation, are you refusing to respond because you're trying to train me out of bringing this up? Like just refusing some acknowledgement to discourage a behavior? He said yes. He went on to say he couldn't tell if I was just venting, so he didn't respond. I said that wasn't what I was upset about. I reminded him that I directly asked if he was doing this technique, and he said yes. He said he had agreed because he was panicking and just woke up and he wasn't thinking. This is the 3 of the most recent incidents, let alone so many throughout the 5 years. And then so these were the 3 things that she's kind of talking about today. And then she summarizes this at the end of the Reddit question. So she said, last night I told him that we had a pattern of doing hurtful things and then acting like it was unintentional. I told him that it was too much of a pattern to be an accident. I started to ugly cry and tell him that I had worked so hard to communicate with him so he could have a good relationship, and asked him to say something or anything to me that would signify he actually cared and was going to do something different. After an hour of that, he suggested I emotionally separate from him. Second suggestion was something along the same lines. These were awful ideas that suggested I live with a wall up around myself in my own home. Third, he said he'll see a hypnotherapist to see if he could figure out why he keeps doing these things. Yes, I voiced months ago I wanted to do couples therapy. He shut down the idea. I said the fact that I wanted to go should be a reason enough. We later had a fight because he said because he's had a habit of invalidating me. He asked me to give him an example. I gave him the example of the times I brought up therapy. He said that doesn't count. To which I pointed out the irony of him invalidating me, giving him an example of how he invalidates me. Then he said that there's nothing else to say about it. And then the last bit of information is just to visualize for you the dynamic between them two. So But I've just had a hard time completely believing that his abusive and gaslighting behavior, because it's not as if he threw me down the stairs viciously or outright called me names, and then implies that his cutting remarks he made, I remember it wrongly. I'm 6'1" and he's 5'8". I have a background in martial arts. I don't know who the hell would try to abuse me. He's also lovely to me often, so it's hard to know what is going on. So I feel like that last little piece kind of helps you like visualize things a little more with the dynamic of these two. And to recap our memory, one was the towel thing, the second was the movie thing, and the third thing was not responding when she, felt fat in her jacket, and not responding because he thought she was venting and he was trying to train her to vent, which she got really upset about being trained like a dog. So this is obviously a lot. And so I want to just ask kind of, what is your instinctual, what is your reaction when you hear something like this? Paulie, go for it.
I feel emotionally drained just thinking about it. Like,
Yeah.
this sort of in some ways actually does remind me of one of my past relationships, the one that I talked about last week. I was a people pleasing, emotionally unintelligent, nice guy who was with a girl who had some trust issues, some trauma in the past, and we had a very difficult time connecting in ways that I could communicate with her and not find she became upset. It was kind of like, when you're dealing with someone and you kind of learn how to deal with most people, and then you enter a relationship and those tactics don't work, and you're not strong and smart enough emotionally to actually know how to navigate those kind of things, but you want to figure it out. Like, that's really hard. But there are things that this guy is doing that he's not really actually showing the desire to figure it out, right? Like, that's the part that I'm having a hard time actually rationalizing with him, because he really is trying to avoid talking about it and like improving it and fixing it. Man, like I think they both should break up. If I'm being honest, if I'm being totally honest, I don't think they're right for each other. And maybe down the road, I mean, they're both in their late 30s, 40s, so at this point it's hard to imagine that this guy is really going to figure it out. But I mean, I'd hope he would. I don't know. This is a tough one. You bring out some good ones. You really do.
Thank you. This one's a big one. I'm not gonna lie. I tried to warn you guys. There's a lot of stuff in this one, and so that's why I want to kind of ask you guys what other people's reactions were too, before we kind of unpack like the really key points that I can spot out, because this is my expertise, and then hopefully I can train you guys to think a similar way to spot these things, so you guys can catch it early. But did anyone else, Bijan? I see your request. Let me bring you up.
So is one of the points that he's not making a safe environment for her to express herself, that he should be trying to make his partner feel safe to talk about how she feels, but instead he makes her feel unsafe to talk about how she feels?
Yeah, that's one element of it. So it's interesting you brought that up, because I think that's on both ends. That's something that's really lacking in their communication. So at one point, it seems like, for example, in the movie situation, she left the room when she was really upset. And then he waited 20 minutes and then came to where she was, and then really insisted quite a few times to talk about it, address the issue. And she was like, no, I'm not going to talk to you about it. I'm going to take my time to process it, and you can't speed up what I need from that. So it's fine, she needed time, but that to me gave me like a bit of a window that maybe when it was one of her comments that really got me. I think it was something like, I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to do my work and save the rest of the night, or something like that. And I want you guys to notice this is very directly what I'm talking about today's topic. So today's topic is what to do or not do when hurt in a relationship. So she's decided to bottle her feeling of being upset in that moment, that he put a movie on knowing that she was going to get really upset with her history, not giving her prior warning. And she's deciding to do her work to be able to save the rest of her night. So that means she's choosing to bottle her feelings of being really upset. And we know bottling, when people bottle, it's really bad, and it comes out in other ways and people don't address it. So in that instance, waiting 20 minutes when she left was not good. You should, quicker would have been way better. And if she was really gung-ho about not talking in that moment, asking her, like, when are you open to talk about it? Is in an hour, 2 hours okay? Is there anything I can do in the meantime to show that I care? And you really want to address it ideally before you go to sleep or within 24 hours. If it really drags out longer than that, it's very straining on a relationship and things can build up. So what you guys heard with this scenario was a buildup of 5 years of this stuff not being addressed properly, or like him getting off the hook with these things and being able to, like it said a couple of times, I think even the first one with the towel whipping, he would do this pleading, I don't know, this sort of look, and then it seems like he would get away with it with just how he would look at her. And that's not okay. Like, if something is upsetting you, you really need to address it. And if it's being repeated, don't put up with that. You need to be addressing it head on, and addressing it head on if it's happening again. And there needs to be consequences to that in a discussion. Not that it gets, not like, oh, this is too hard. This is just something I have to accept, or I hope this doesn't happen again. Sorry, I know I've went on a monologue there, Bijan, but there were definitely points. But please say anything else you wanted to say.
Yeah, did you see I replied to your thread with 2
Oh my gosh,
acronyms?
I haven't seen it. Okay, I'm gonna look at it right now.
On X, on your Love
Oh,
Story
I
Unicorns.
see it. Jade, justify, argue, defend, explain, think, thoughtful, honest, intelligent, necessary, kind. Okay, Jade, and then okay. I was just seeing if it was an acronym on the way down.
Yeah, so Jade is the things that you shouldn't do, and think are the things that you should do, in
Right.
terms of when you find these
Mm-hmm.
yourself in a situation where you're feeling a certain way with your partner. And I came across this acronym when I was looking at codependent relationships and advice people have for codependent relationships, because I think they're a great example of situations where people treat each other badly and don't leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a situation where lots of people are feeling really negative emotions all the time. So whatever regular people feel once a week, that's what those people would feel like every day, So this sort of advice being given to them even applies to people in more normal relationships, and it can be really helpful, because if you think, oh, they put on the TV show and didn't listen to me when I wanted to talk to them, should I try to justify myself or argue for myself or defend my point or explain why what they're doing is wrong? Or like with that kind of a perspective? Probably not. But when I do communicate, I should strive to be thoughtful and honest, intelligent, communicate what's necessary, and kind. I think they're really good guidelines, actually. And it ties into what I was saying about like tone. Like, I think if you follow these, your tone will probably also be more pleasant and positive and supportive. And one of the saddest things is when people are together and they stop believing in each other. That's really sad.
Yeah, it is really sad. Or like you see the respect gone between them. That's also really sad. One thing, some couples, might swear at each other or like really banter at each other, and like, just an outside person, it might seem like, oh wow, like, how do they speak like that? But they might really just be on the same page, and that's how they joke around with each other, and they're actually bantering and being affectionate. And so I don't mind that. I don't mind that when people are like that. The only thing I tell, like specifically with that point, is when you argue, it's so easy that if you are in a pattern of joking around and like, with, I don't know, not nice things that you say to each other, when you are actually arguing, that's the risk, that's when that same kind of behavior comes out, but this time the intent is also not nice. And that is, a very easy tipping point for the respect to actually go out the window. And then once, it is really disheartening. So watch out. If your relationship is one where like you guys tease each other in like mean ways, and you guys are like, no, we get each other, we're just joking, just be careful when you are having actual arguments. That's where you want to make sure you can still be respectful, and be respectful when it's important to your partner. It doesn't have to be for what society thinks, but at least for your partner. Paulie, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm really stuck on the first part of it. Like the whole towel whipping thing really has my mind in a weird spot, right?
Yeah.
Because she really, like, if what he's doing, like if what she's describing is what he's actually doing, like, then she shouldn't be with him, because there's something weird. But there's something not adding up for me with this part of the story. Like, part of me wonders if she's maybe being overly dramatic to try and make a point, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
get favor with the story.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to assume that. I don't want to. It's just I hear it and it just something isn't adding up for me, right? And and then I start to try and imagine, like, if is the way she's describing things really how it is, or is there some embellishments going on?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, then how might the guy actually be dealing with it? Are we really getting the full picture?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I hate to assume that, but I just, like I said, it just the way that she's describing some of these things, it's not really adding up for me the way that it's supposed to. Um, it, it, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's really fair. That's totally fair. And this is only one person's side of the story. So we are definitely in assumption alley with knowing actually what's going down between them. And so we can't ever make definitive statements about these Reddit questions because we don't have all the information, just like you're pointing out. Bijan, with your a really helpful comment that you put with Jade and Think, if you were to apply that to any of these three situations that she specified that she got upset with, if you had to do Jade and then you had to do Think, what would it sound like? So you can pick from, if you want, the towel one, the movie one, or the her feeling fat and him not saying anything one. Do you feel brave enough to try?
I mean, yeah, that doesn't bother me. I don't mind even messing up. That's, we're all friends here. But
Yeah, exactly.
so the whole point is you're supposed to not do the Jade things and you're supposed to do the Think things. And so, actually, this is a great point. No, this is a good point. So let me
Yeah.
sort of talk you through what's going on. So
Mhm.
the first thing that you have to do, actually, well, that I have to do, is I have to actually close my eyes and I have to lie down because I have to get into my body. I can't get in my head when it comes to these things. I don't know. I think I'm a very logical person, and so I usually have to try and focus and center myself. And once I'm more feeling and more connected to how I'm feeling, and then I remind myself of the acronyms. I mean, you realize that there's an emotional block after reading what that woman is saying, that she feels emotionally blocked from this person, and that she doesn't think this person likes her. She doesn't think this person respects her. This person isn't treating her the way that she wants to be treated. And just in the way that she described these events happening, she's not speaking about it in the mindset of someone trying to work on a relationship and make it good. Actually, this is and she probably tried for a long time and is tired now. But if you're in that mindset and your partner is the bad person that's doing these bad things, then you're not going to be able to put yourself in an emotional position where you're willing to come forward and work together as a team. Actually, like, I think she probably needs to journal and explore her own feelings and make a decision internally if she is really willing to continue in this relationship or not. And she very well might say no, but let's say she says yes. Maybe he's like super handsome or something. I don't know. Let's just say she says yes. So she needs to change the way that she speaks about these events with other people. And she needs, like, when I say she, I mean I in her shoes, right? It's like I need to stop looking at things as ways to criticize my partner, ways to judge my partner, ways to make them bad, ways to make them wrong. And then you need to start looking at them as opportunities to help my partner grow and improve. And the reason that it's challenging is because it is challenging. It's really hard to actually be able to do this. You have to be able to be big enough, right? Basically to be above the emotional turmoil and take care of the emotions of two people. But unfortunately, that's the reality of many relationships. But also, that's relatively normal. Once in a while, someone's having a hard time and you're not having a hard time. You take care of them. Next week, they might have to take care of you. So anyways, context-wise, now that we're changed our mindset, we're not thinking of our partner as a bad person, I would talk about what's necessary, right? The necessary and think is a good place to start because you get to the very important point. So what's necessary is, for example, respect and physical safety. So I would say, okay, I need to talk to my partner about respect and physical safety. That's absolutely necessary. And I need to talk to him about like my own needs, about feeling, respected. The honest part is I need to be really honest with my partner. I can't hide things. I can't make things sound worse than they are. I can't make things sound better than they are, right? Because if I'm trying to show up with integrity as a person trying to work on this, they really have to see me at face value, and I have to be like fully myself, and they have to really trust what I'm saying. They can't think I'm over exaggerating in one way or another. I have to be absolutely honest when I talk to them. And I should be thoughtful about the words that I say. I need to try and catch myself to not say a word that is, that's me venting and exposing that I still have some leftover frustration. I should really be thoughtful not to say those kinds of things. And if I do catch myself, I should actually apologize right when that happens, and really strive not to do that. I should try to be intelligent about the way that I speak to my partner about these things too. I want to structure this properly, and I want to have a intelligent discussion. I don't want to just be dumb and say you're bad and I don't like that. I need to actually be able to analyze my feelings. That goes back to journaling. So writing down again, how exactly do I feel about this? And being kind. I need to show kindness, right? That's one of the philosophies I live my life by, which is like anything that you want to receive, you need to give. And that opens you up to receiving it in return. Like whatever you give, like I don't know, it's some like weird spiritual stuff, maybe. I don't know. But if I'm kind to my partner, almost it makes them feel like they have a space to be kind to me. People, like, energy is very reciprocal. And then Jade, things for me to avoid when I'm talking to them. I want to avoid justifying, arguing, defending myself if they yell at me or criticize me, or, explaining myself when I don't need to. If they say, well, why do you feel like you need to be respected? I don't need to explain myself. That's how I feel. What would I say? Well, I would say with the towel whipping thing, like, honey, there's something that you did that actually made me feel really bad. And it was when you whipped me with the towel. It really hurt. And you made this face to try and get out of, acknowledging that it hurt. And it's really important for me to feel like we're taking care of each other and supporting each other. And it makes me feel scared when you treat me like that, because it makes me feel like you're not actually prioritizing taking care of me. To be honest, it really has been bothering me for a long time, and I've noticed myself feeling resentment and anger. But I care about you, and I don't want to treat you badly. So I've been journaling, and I've been writing down how I feel. And I just really want us to talk about this. I know you might feel a little bit embarrassed, maybe, but I really want to try and talk to you about this just openly. I'm not judging you. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm not trying to say that you're a bad person. I just think we need to talk about this, and I will need to make sure that you actually care about how I feel and want me to be taken care of. I think a conversation like that would be really good.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate you so much for going through all the different ones and then giving the example of how you would actually word it in this specific situation with the Reddit question. So thank you so much. I think that was really valuable. And like another thing I want to add to it, when things have repeatedly happened that you've addressed someone about previously, if it is something that's really bothering you, a way to level up the severity of it continuously, happening more than once or twice, and it's something very important to you, is to give a time frame for it. If you've like properly and openly communicated, like I don't, I feel really hurt, like physical pain, like on my body when you did that. I don't like it. Like, I don't know, I need you to first kiss it and then also never do that again. And if they've done it again, you say, like a week ago or 2 months ago, or like a year ago, I told you very directly that this was unacceptable behavior to do again. And if it is something that's really important to you, or, God forbid, violence, it's okay to say, if this happens again, or this happens again within the next 3 months, or whatever time frame you want to give, like, these are the consequences for that. And you can discuss it, but if you want to level up your kind of upsetness, if it's happened more than once and it's something that's important, give a time frame. You're not going to put up with this forever, and please don't put up with things forever, especially before you're married with someone. You want to make sure that these things, you have healthy patterns going into a marriage that you guys can figure out together, and you can trust them not to keep doing hurtful things to you that just don't improve. You need to see growth in your partner. It's unacceptable for someone to be hurting your feelings, knowing that it's hurting your feelings and it's really important to you. We need to be able to, and that goes, and I love what Bijan was saying about kindness. I feel very similar to that. And, I improve and grow for you, and I expect the same in return. And, So it's, on one end, like, you need to also reflect of yourself and see, you want your partner to change in all of these ways. But that means that you also, when they say they feel upset, that you can also take that feedback on board and grow and improve too. Paulie, I see your hand.
Yeah, just this whole discussion has my brain like back in. I feel like I'm back in this toxic relationship I used to be, like re feeling like as a person who always tried to be kind and like nice and being with someone who seemingly would take your kindness and find a way to manipulate it into a negative and like and like the absolute spiral that it put me in, like how much it changed me. And I'm like listening to the scenario, and it's really hard for me to separate my memory and my story and like actually try to look at it from an objective standpoint because just so much subjective things are just like memories, like the towel thing. Like that wasn't actually, she was the one who used to towel whip me. It was like it was fun. Like it wasn't a bad thing. Like it was like a crack in the whip and we'd laugh about it. Like so it's not the same thing, but just it's starting with a towel whip was so fucking like so much about this is bringing back memories. and and now it's like I'm imagining what it's like for this guy and like imagine, is this really, has he given up? Like did he start out with the best intentions and has her like vision of the world and of people and her inability to trust or her fears caused her to manipulate her vision of things in a way that has caused him to give up and totally cash out and check out and become resentful, like because that's, I feel like that's what happened to me, and it sucks, so like I'm sitting here and I want to be empathetic to her, like if this has really happened to her, like that's messed up. Like if you're telling a guy don't whip me because it hurts and he keeps doing it, like that's a dick move. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like I said, it just doesn't add up to me. Like I've been in a toxic relationship. I've seen what can happen, and this is reminding me a little too much of what I feel like I went through. So I don't know. It's got my brain in a really weird spot right now. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. And, we can't completely separate our own emotions from, when we hear other people's stories. So I think it takes a lot of honesty to admit that. And, we can all say we're being completely unbiased, but we're all being biased to all of the experiences we've had prior. And we identify to different things because of our experiences. So me too, to some extent. And I think it's really helpful when we're honest and upfront about that. There was like something about this I wanted to talk about as well. So I am also in Assumption Alley. So obviously, I haven't spoken to either person, and we're only hearing one person's story on here. But if I had to try and make a guess to what's actually going on when I read this one, the story starts off with a lot of loving things that he's doing. So it's not just negative experiences that she's pointing out. And so if we think back to our magic ratio, which was 1 to 5, so for every one negative interaction, there's 5 positive interactions in a healthy relationship. It seems like it's not just negative things that are happening. And so that is a huge saving grace for this relationship. She starts off saying there's a lot of positives and there are a lot of things that he does to show that he, seems to love her and seems to care. From what I think is actually going on is they've not been able to communicate for years properly about things that are really important, and they let things slide, or they get upset and then they bottle up their feelings and they process it for long periods of time, or think they've communicated it clearly in the past and just not know how to fix it. Honestly, when they finally had that conversation at the end of, hey, let's really talk about it and address our problems, their solution was, okay, it was kind of funny, cracked me up. Like one was just like, let's emotionally detach, which is terrible advice. And then the other option was go to hypnotherapy to figure out where this is all coming from, which is also unhelpful. So I think if they are honestly trying to address the conversation with their, patterns of behavior that's not good, if their best solutions are hypnotherapy and emotional detachment, like I just think they don't have the skills to be able to address problems when they come up in a healthy way. And so that's why the reason I put that in today's session as the main topic, and also because Bijan recommended it last week, but what to do or not do when you're hurt in a relationship is really important. And the main takeaway that I want you guys to kind of remember from this space, if you can, is bottling is bad, be honest. And the way you start the conversation, as soon as you can, is to say, I feel whatever emotion it is you're feeling. And usually it's going to be a negative one, and that's okay. And then say, I need, and try and complete that sentence. And even if it's, I don't know what I need, say that. And you don't need to have it all figured out. Just get it out there. And that starts the conversation and at least gets them to understand that you're not feeling a good emotion when this behavior happened, and it's important to take it seriously. And if it is something that's really important, you can even try and anchor it and say, out of 10 importance, like this is an 8 out of 10. Like I don't have an 8 out of 10 importance thing. I only have one like once a year. Like this is a huge deal. Like I haven't experienced anything like this in a while. Like I really need you to take this seriously. Or like this is a 2 out of 10 importance, but it just keeps happening on a daily basis. So these frustrations build up much more easily. So anchoring things are helpful. And if they're really not making changes and you've communicated very clearly, putting a time frame. You do not have to put up with this forever. You deserve to be with someone who also, like as yourself, you're growing, they should be able to grow as well and improve, and because that's a loving thing to do, and that's kindness. And so please, when you're picking your partner, look out for this. If you're growth oriented, like being here today and actually caring about relationships and trying to learn these skills that most people don't know, you want a partner that also cares about this stuff and wants to do the same for you. Maybe not in the exact same way, because everyone's different, but when you address things, they don't shut you down or just say yes, 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 and never do it. You deserve better than that because you give more than that. And so keep that in mind. And there really are good people out there that do these things. I think a lot of them actually are in this space today. So you're not alone if you're one of these people who are kind and give and grow. We just need to be around more people like that. And we for sure exist. We just got to be around more people like that. Awesome. Jim, I see you come in at the very end, but it's great to see how it's just about to wrap up. Okay. Well, is there anything else anyone wanted to say before we wrap up for today? Or anything on this topic, or any question or story or anything else they had? Bijan, I see your hand.
Yeah, so something that I've honestly been reflecting on myself personally has been when these things happen, when people feel bad, when people need, to take care of themselves or to be taken care of, it feels like one option is to get through it. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's like, it's not get over it, it's get through it, right? Like, you feel a feeling and you get through that feeling. And you can do that by yourself even. And I get the impression a lot of the times that someone feels a feeling like disrespected by their partner, and they don't get through that feeling, and they're stuck in that feeling. And then they are floundering in it, and they're basically, that's what causes so much miscommunication, right? They're not in a good headspace to be a partner because they're overwhelmed by this feeling. And it seems to me that, we're all responsible for the ways that we feel. And so if we feel bad about something, we should get through it first and then talk to our partner about that feeling if we can, right? And that's sort of like showing up in your relationship, right? So, but this is like basically, how do you communicate? This is like what my thoughts have been about it lately. So I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's realizing that you are allowed to have feelings. And I think like this is such an important point that you brought up, that, people feel something and then they try and process it. And then sometimes people don't process it, as well as they need to. And it shows up in all these different ways. And one of the reasons why I simplify this, sorry, we are moving house today. And so there's all these random sounds going on because we're cleaning the old house and going to the new house. So there's like random sounds. That's what it is. Sorry, back to the point I was going to say. Yeah, I try and say bottling is bad, be honest. And the reason I say that is, it's great if you can process something by yourself and say it really well to the other person. But most times people are not great at processing on their own. And then it turns into passive aggression, and a lot of things just need to get out. Like even like you just need to feel heard sometimes. Like it's not even like they need to do anything. They just need to listen, and sometimes just be like, thank you for sharing how you feel. Like I understand better now. And honestly, a lot of the time it's just as simple as that. And you can just go through it over and over in your head and not reach that processing until you speak to someone else about it. And sometimes you can, but in general, I really like to say bottling is bad, because most people get passive aggressive, and it builds up. And maybe you think now it's not a big deal, but then a lot of these little things keep happening. And then you have like a big reaction to something, or you can't verbalize why you're so upset in a moment when it was just a small thing, and because it was a build up of so many little things. Or for your partner, they've just not been verbalizing, and then they just like have a big reaction over something small. And so it's just a shortcut way usually if you can express. And if you haven't had a good experience expressing to someone because someone's shut you down or said you're too demanding or needy, or like you shouldn't have so much feelings or things like that, like maybe you just haven't been around someone who's emotionally supportive of someone else's feelings. And so that just might be like the people that you're around just haven't been treating you that way. When it's a healthy reaction to someone's feelings is to be able to hear them out and make them feel safe. Obviously there's boundaries to this. If they're like 24/7 upset about something, obviously there's got to be a balance there to some extent. But yeah, as a good rule of thumb, please, you guys, don't bottle, get it out. It helps everyone because we can address it when it's small, and it's so much harder to unpack the layers. Please remember this last story of the Reddit question. Like, we all felt overwhelmed when we heard this last story, and it's because there's been so many things that built up for so long, and now it's just a mess to unpack. So if this was just like one tiny situation and everything else was like okay, and they were like upset about one thing, it's so easy for us to kind of try and unpack that and address that just as humans in general. It's much easier for us to solve one little problem than like a lot of little problems or like big problems. So none of us want to feel like that. So please take the hard step of saying I feel blah 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 and I need, so then we can avoid, all of us can avoid being in this situation, and have great relationships. Simone, I see your hand is up. Sorry for making you wait so long.
Oh my gosh, no need to say sorry. Thank you so much for the lovely space, and I really appreciate you letting me be able to speak when you're saying that you're wrapping it up. So just a little shout out. I just want to acknowledge Paulie from last week on your space, and today so lovely to be in your company and just be in that emotional intelligence with yourself and Bijan. I've just been journaling and listening, and yes, all the beautiful guests that are here that have contributed in the listening field. So the two questions that I always ask my inner child is, how are you feeling? And I'll just write that on the left-hand side and then wait for the response in the column on the right-hand side and thank her. And then the other question is, what do you need right now? But thank you so much, love, because that was really profound when you said, I feel and I need, because I just realised that they are the exactly same questions packaged in a very different energy and vibration. So when I journal, it comes out very differently. When I've just said it to hubby, I'm like, let me just practice these two questions. It was very clean. It was very strong, and it just sort of like put a full stop to that instantly. So yeah, thanks for this lovely space, and wishing you all well. And it's always about self-love first. The only person that's going to hang out with you the most and forever is yourself. So liking ourselves again, loving ourselves again. And that unconditional love. So that's where I'm working on is, can I spend, 1 hour unconditionally loving myself through something, or just because it's me and just because I can love my inner child, let alone can I do it for a day? And, also to, it's sometimes easier for myself to practice unconditional love with people that are not quite in my inner circle, but I want to be able to give and offer compassion. Whereas a couple of weeks ago, I've just been seeing my mum and visiting her. And the first visit was a bit of a burn. It was like, oh my gosh, just being triggered as a child to then really choosing to be the adult and realising how much inner work I've done to be able to show up and just give her moments of unconditional love. It might not have been the whole time that I visited before the airport, but just that, and that imagery or that feeling or that knowingness of like, that is going to support her soul, her inner child, and just cleaning up relationships. So I'm really big on unfinished business, like whether it's an admin point of view, as well as especially relationships, is I'm always looking at it as, without being morbid, is every text, every communication, every thought, can I leave that person with more love or gentleness? Because you just never know. The world is crazy. And it's like, how can I just drop some peace wherever I can? So thank you for this lovely space. Thank you for letting me be able to speak and just being heard. So infinite blessings to you all, and thank you again.
Thank you for all your wisdom and all your love and care that you shared with us. We always love having you on. You always say such powerful things to everyone in the space. So I appreciate you a lot. And another thing that came to mind when you were speaking is, a lot of the time, sometimes things that we need are just like small things. And so the I need, a lot of the times, can be as simple as, I just need you to listen uninterrupted until the end and just give me a hug. your I needs don't need to be crazy a lot of the times. Like, you don't need to come with this perfect, gigantic thing that you want. It can just be, I just need you to hold my hand as I say this and tell me everything's going to be okay. Like, really simplify it for the other person. No one's a mind reader. Even as much as I'd like to be a mind reader, or like everything I know in psychology, I can still not know what the other person is thinking because I'm not a mind reader. So please, even the best of us, we don't know until we ask. And even I'm in Assumption Alley, and I don't know what's going on until I ask someone. So yeah, just keep in mind it can be something as simple as that you need someone. And that makes it so much easier for someone to be a loving partner when they know that's all I need to do. I got this down. Another thing that I just, for keeping as many positive interactions in your relationships as you can. We've been, moving house the last 2 days, and we're doing moving ourselves, and we've hurt ourselves, like not like severely or anything, but just like little scratches, like we hit ourselves here and there. And like something that I noticed that we do, which is very loving and kind, is like we will, like I'll be like, ow, that hurt, or like, oh no, I just hit my finger, or like whatever it is. And then like Armand would like come, like he'll be like, where did you hurt yourself? And I'll be like, right here. And then he would like kiss it, and that makes me feel so much better. And I do the same for him, and it just eases the pain. So sometimes it doesn't even have to be like emotional pain. You can be in physical pain sometimes, and a loving action as simple as that can just put so many more positive interactions in your day. And it doesn't, if your, I don't know, hand is bleeding or something, it's not like it's going to stop the blood or fix the problem, but it can emotionally help the situation and strengthen your relationship. So there's so many little like patterns and habits you can put into your daily system to make it a strong team that has each other's back. And so I just wanted to say, like, I appreciate that in my husband, and that's something that's made moving so much more easier. I'm sorry, he's just singing upstairs right now. I'm like on a Twitter space. Follow your hand.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank Simone for the words she said. Yeah, admittedly, my braid's in a little weird place. It's a little heavy and weighed down right now. But I appreciate what you had to say. I appreciate the discussion. I think this stuff's really important, and these things are tough. They're tough to talk about. They're tough to move on from. They're tough to think about, right? Like, it was hard enough when you're going through these things to deal with it then, but then to like have to remember it and relive it, like that's tough. So the attempt that you're making to spend an hour a day to dedicate to loving yourself, like that's awesome. Like, I think that's a really cool thing you're trying to do. And I think we all need something. We all need to find something that kind of, every day isn't going to be great. Some days are going to suck, but if we can find things to do to get through those moments, get through those days, and be ready for when the awesome days and the awesome moments come, right? That's what we got to do. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you for showing all the love to Simone. Like, you're both so great, and everyone who spoke today, you bring so much value to the space, because we all learn from each other, and we all have different perspectives that we bring. And yeah, if you can't love yourself, like it's very hard to receive love as well. They kind of go hand in hand. So practicing that is invaluable to how you treat everyone else around you. So it's definitely a good skill. And I know even myself, I need to practice that one. It's such a easy one to forget about, but the most important one to keep in mind. To do fun things and even think about what fun things and what enjoyable things are. And you term things in your inner child, and that even like takes your mind to a new place when you think about it. It's like, what would my inner child appreciate in this moment, or what does my inner child like find fun? And yeah, it's a great thing to think about, and a great thing to put energy in, because we need to take care of ourselves so we can also take care of others around us. So I appreciate all that. And Paulie, if you want to chat about anything, let me know. I can try and end spaces in more positive Reddit questions. I'm sorry about that one. I
No,
left
no,
with a
you're
heavy
good.
one at the end.
Sometimes going through these things is necessary. It's good.
I appreciate you, but you're 100% right. I can't agree with you anymore. We need to go through them to get to the other side, and it gets easier every time we go through them, and we'll go through them together side by side. We're a team. We have each other's backs. We're all safe here. Awesome. I know Rel Mad Max came up at the last moment. Did you want to say something before we wrap up?
I appreciate the space, and I think it's cool to focus on building skills. And your positive attitude seems like conducive to being safe to share and not all that good stuff. So, well done.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, so great to have you up. I really appreciate you coming up to speak. And yeah, we have these every week. So if you want to come any other week, we'd love to have you on and just, be side by side, learning these skills together and being kind to one another. I think that's really important. I'm here to share as much value as I can to you guys so we can all increase love in the world in the best way. That's my goal for all of this. So thank you all. I hope you have an amazing rest of the night. And I hope you guys find the love lives of your dreams and have an amazing week until next week. And if you do have a topic you want me to cover next week, please message me. I'm very receptive to topics because I want to be able to give you guys what you would appreciate talking about and learning about. All right. With that, bye everyone. Have an amazing week.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Much love.
Yeah, much love. See you, Max.